Okay, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gaffino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis.
Here.
Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar.
Here.
All right, thank you. I'll open up for audience comments. Would you like to speak? Seeing none, trustee comments? Move to item 1 under discussion. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1 is a special use for a massage/spa establishment at 121 South Lincolnway. This item was in front of the Committee of the Whole on March 16th. At that time, the board wanted to discuss regulations for massage parlors in relation to the special use. Just as a reminder, as a non-home rule community, we don't necessarily have licensing power for businesses. However, in certain cases under state statute, non-home rule communities do have the ability to still regulate things through such a program in certain circumstances. With that, the staff went back, worked with Attorney Drendel, and we came up with a list of conditions for consideration if the board is to approve this. They would be acted as part of the special use. One thing to note is there was one additional condition that we have not added yet, but that we would add before final approval. We can bring that up during the discussion. And Nathan's going to lead us down the path.
So at the March 16th Committee of the Whole meeting, the applicant came forward to propose a special use at 121 South Lincolnway for a massage establishment. At that meeting, concerns were raised about the various independent contractors that would be coming in, so people with massage license or nail license or salon license operating there. So we drafted some language that would require all the operators on site to have a valid state license, that would require them to provide us with a list of all the employees and copies of all of their state licenses, would allow for the village to inspect the property to ensure compliance. And if we found someone that was unlicensed there, that would be grounds for revoking the special use. And any criminal activity would also be grounds for revoking the special use. So we drafted that language up, and that draft is in the packet that was sent to you. The applicant requested to come back to this meeting, but they're not here. So I don't know if we got our signals crossed or something, but I wanted them to come up and explain their operations to you.
And it was made clear to them that the board wanted them here tonight.
So I have a question regardless. So when you say criminal activity, define what that means. Somebody's been arrested, somebody's gotten wind of something going on. What does that mean specifically?
So arrests or prosecutions, and I worked with Kevin to write that particular section so that it didn't have to just be convictions. Arrests at the facility would count.
You mean like charges?
Well, I'm guessing it could be anything that, almost like a nuisance, whether it's prostitution, disorderly conduct, things like that. I wouldn't think it would count like when they're the victim of a crime. Like one of the parlors had an issue with somebody causing a disturbance on the property, so it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
I would take it as any issue that they've caused, like I said, prostitution, things like that, then we will hold them accountable for their license.
There's very specific language. Kevin did a really nice job drafting this. There's some other communities who have been really aggressive, and we kind of looked at some of what they've done as well. Kevin has experience drafting ordinances for Batavia as well. And in there, there's a line, Mayor, that talks about, it says, any arrest or charges originating from actions conducted by employees or agents of the applicant on premises or actions of the owner or practitioner on premises is grounds for fine, revocation, or special use as detailed in the upcoming section. Regardless of whether the arrest or charges result in a conviction, if applicant or owner is unable to prove by preponderance of evidence that the actions in question are not a violation of any law, meaning even if it doesn't come out of conviction, but we have enough information that we are comfortable, it can still go through the special use revocation process.
I have a question. So if there's something unlawful that happens, we can kick them out of the property then?
Well,
How do we do that?
We can revoke the special use, which means they wouldn't be allowed to operate under that special use further. And if they did, we would have recourse. We could go and get,
Injunction?
we could get, yeah, an injunction, right. But we have to exhaust the other remedies first before we'd be able to do that.
It would be similar to, in this case, it's a special use, but even if it was a special use, let's say, and we were able to, for the future, because we're still working on regulations after this one for future ones, let's say we do have some sort of licensing program. Either way, even if you go through the process of pulling somebody's business license, you still have a process to pull that license. And if they didn't vacate the property, just like a special use revocation, you'd still have to abide by whatever the court process is to remove them.
Well, there's no quick fix to that situation. I mean, this takes time, it has to go through the court. Also, let's say we have a situation where maybe the police have just been called because somebody's complaining about whatever it may be, but there's no specific evidence, to make an arrest. So in other words, if they just become a nuisance where there's just sort of being complaints about it, that doesn't really meet the bar of what you're talking about in terms of criminal activity, correct?
Yeah, so there is something else we can do, and we're actually in the process of doing it, which is to license the premises of where massage therapy and similar things are done. We can't license the massage therapy. The state only can do that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of municipalities, including Batavia and Naperville and others, license the establishment, and then there's a bunch of conditions to the license. And so if we pass that ordinance that requires a license for a massage establishment, then if there's violations, we can pursue that also.
And it's important to note that in that process, which we haven't gone down yet because it is a whole new process, it goes back to the non-home rule versus home rule. So home rule communities can license any business and require a license and therefore pull a license, so to speak, if they're in violation in any way. But when you're a non-home rule entity, you don't have licensing authority unless it's somehow also stated in the law that you can. And in this case, whether it's under the nuisance provisions of the non-home rule statutory authorities, if a use like this has been deemed a nuisance or something along that line, and there has been a history of these types of uses, having these types of nuisances, it gives non-home rule communities more ability to then stand up and say, well, we may not be home rule, but we think this is a nuisance, we can license it. And that's the process we're working on now.
I think that all sounds fine, but I guess I'm curious, why they wouldn't be here. I don't know. I don't know. I would want to hear from them before we put it back on the agenda, but that's me.
We had questions, remember, for the attorney?
Yeah, what happened?
We
Like the
did.
name change, all the different things, how many
Right.
people, this, that, and he really didn't know anything.
Yeah, so
That's how I feel about
I'm
it. I
not
don't know
going
how
to
the
bring
rest
it
of the
back
trustees
to a regular agenda, because they're not here, they need to answer those questions. So, this was the meeting date they asked to be continued to, and so I don't know what happened there, so I'll have to follow up tomorrow, but they need to come back to a COW meeting too.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Well, we got some-
get them here.
We want to know what happened last time.
All right, that's it. All right, move on to item 2, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 2 tonight is a concept for Route 31. Let me see. Okay, this is for the vacant land on the west side of Lincolnway and south of the ComEd easement. This is just north of the police station. This is a concept for Seefried Industrial for the Slaker property, and this is for a mixed use in a way with a warehouse with a component of commercial in the front. This land has a variable amount of types of zoning that require the board's review, and with that, Nathan is going to walk through the concept.
Okay, I'll just do a brief introduction and then bring Seefried up here. So the property in question is at 136 South Lincolnway. It's the Slaker farm. It is currently zoned estate rural, so no matter what gets built here, it would have to be rezoned and a PUD approved. The comprehensive plan gives it a very flexible designation and basically states that the frontage should be used for local commercial, but then in the rear, it could be residential, it could be industrial, it could be commercial. It's kind of wide open. The reason for that at the time was, as you can see by the picture, the surrounding land uses. There is commercial on 31, there is industrial to the south and west, and there's residential to the north. So it really kind of is in the middle of a lot of different uses. So that's why that kind of flexibility was there. The current proposal is for a 278,000 square foot warehouse building and then a retail outlet on front. And I'm going to invite Seefried to come on up and talk a little bit about their company and their vision for the property.
Thanks, Nathan. Good evening. My name's Dave Reefy with Seefried Properties. I'm joined tonight by Reed Rossberger with Seefried as well. I want to thank the committee as a whole for hearing us tonight and working with us on this exciting project.
Excuse me, sir. Could you put the mic up a little
Sure.
further? Thanks.
Yeah. My name is Dave Reefy with Seefried Properties.
Thank you.
And I'm joined by Reed Rossberger from Seefried Properties. And we'd like to thank the committee of whole for meeting with us tonight and talking about this exciting development. Seefried Properties is under contract to purchase the 24 acres, the Slaker farm. We have a 9-month due diligence period to do our due diligence on the property. And there's two primary long lead items on due diligence. One is the rezoning, which Nathan mentioned. It will be necessary due to the existing residential zoning and working with the village to obtain those approvals. The other is the necessary roadway improvements for a development, or quite frankly, any type of commercial development on this project. Roadway improvements will be necessary on Lincolnway. And we've been discussing with the village the possibility of the road diet and the possibility of implementing that road diet in conjunction with this development, which will provide a center turn lane and access to the property, which is imperative for our traffic. I wanted to give just a little background on Seefried and our qualifications so that you know who we are. And then Reed is going to go into the project in detail. Seefried Properties is a development company headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been in business for 40 years. We're privately held and we remain privately held developer since our inception. We have offices in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles. And from those 5 offices, we develop throughout the United States. We are primarily an industrial developer, but we have a track record and history of developing all product types, including office, retail, industrial, and data centers more recently. In Chicago, we opened up our office here 26 years ago in the year 2000. Our office is up by O'Hare Airport. We actually have a City of Chicago address, but we're in the shadows of O'Hare. We have done a lot of development in the I-88 corridor. We haven't had the pleasure of developing in North Aurora in the village, but we have surrounded the village, I will say, with some developments. And we put pictures of 4 different buildings that we've developed in the area. The first building in the bottom left-hand corner of the slide is a speculative development that we developed in Meridian Lakes Business Park in Aurora. We built that building without a tenant identified, and then we identified and leased it to Glambia, the Optimum Nutrition Company that's headquartered out in Aurora. The second building, second picture from the left, is a development that we did for Victory Packaging. This is in the Prime 88 Business Park off of Orchard Road on the south side of I-88. You can see the signage of that property from I-88 when you're driving on the tollway. The third building from the left is a build-a-suit that we did for Amazon.com in West Chicago. The building is in the DuPage Technology Park just south of the DuPage Airport. This is a last mile delivery station and probably delivers packages to many of your homes. And then the last one is is a speculative facility that we developed on Sequoia Road again in the Prime 88 Business Park in Aurora. This building was 100% leased to a company called Magic Woods. Magic Woods is a cabinet maker out of Canada, and they distribute their cabinets throughout the United States from this location. The facility, Nathan went through this facility, is 24 acres, as we said. We're approximately a quarter of a mile north of the I-88 interchange, and we are south of the power lines, north of the police station, and east of the tollgate business park, and you can see the Opus buildings that were recently developed. This is a slide showing the existing zoning on the property. As Nathan mentioned, we have 2 zoning designations on the property, R1 and estate residential. Our plan would be, and this would really be for your guidance, but potentially a planned development, PUD, where we had both retail and industrial approved with an approved site plan would be acceptable to us, or alternatively split zoning where the rear was I1 and the front was commercial to accommodate our retail concept. Next, I'll turn it over to Reed, who will go through the concept plan.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Thanks again for having us, and thanks, Nathan, for setting this up. So really, when we were putting together this site plan, we wanted to put something together that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And in doing so, if we start on the east side of the property, when you're driving north and you're looking at the property after it's constructed, we've got a 1.5 acre retail outlet at the front. And that 1.5 acres allows that parcel to be flexible for a variety of retail and food and beverage uses. For example, to compare the size, the A&W across the street on the north side, or a little bit farther to the northeast than this site, is on 0.85 acres. So we find that 1.5 acres will allow us to be flexible with tenants there. Another thing that we want to highlight is the separation between the retail use and the industrial use. We're accomplishing that with how we've designed the access onto this site. So you can see on the south side, we've got the south side of the site right there. We've got a nice big entrance, and then that goes into a cul-de-sac or a roundabout with stop signs at stop signs would be at the west and the north of that cul-de-sac to limit traffic just sliding out into that area and making it so the primary access is to cars to the retail outlet there. And then moving on to the industrial facility, the speculative facility, like Nathan said, 278,000 square feet. We've got it designed in a manner, it's 260 feet deep. And with that depth, we're, it's very flexible for the tenants, but we're thinking it could be broken up into 3 or 4 tenant spaces. And we'll have entrances designed for that. So we'll have glass curtain wall entrances along the face of the building. Yeah, at the northeast corner, and then also on the east side of the building. Then we'll have curtain walls in the middle, and then on the west side as well. And then going back to kind of just some architectural features of the building, we want to incorporate some design features such as reveals and different colors and stacking of the panels so it breaks up some of the massing as you're looking at it from Lincolnway. So we realize this is a property that's on the front steps of your community, and as you're standing on that southeast corner of the site looking at the building, we want your eyes first to go to, the retail outlet, the landscaping right where Nathan's pointer is, and then to some nice curtain wall features on the face of the building. So, yeah, I think I hit everything. One other note was we're a little limited on our design with the sanitary easement that you can see dotted through the center of the site. There's no way to build over that, and it was cost prohibitive to move that. It's a huge sanitary line and deep underground. So with that, I guess I'll open up to questions. Again, we're here to solicit feedback from all of you and appreciate your time.
Do you have any idea what company's coming in there?
We don't know the company, the potential tenant. Like at the, we're designing the building so it can, a variety of different types of companies can lease the space.
So it's a spec building?
A spec building,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question on access. The southern entrance is full access. Will that mean trucks will be turning left there?
Correct.
Will that, I'm concerned that might create a traffic issue.
Dave, and Dave had mentioned this at the beginning, but part of this project is, reliant on the road diet plans on Lincolnway. Are you familiar with the road diet plans where there's
Yes.
a 2-lane, one lane going north, 1 lane going
Yes.
south, and then the turn lane? So the trucks would be in that turn lane turning left and wouldn't be holding up, wouldn't be stopping traffic.
What if that doesn't happen? Then what?
If it doesn't, if the road diet doesn't
Yeah.
happen, then the design we'd have to implement would be a turn lane on the west side of Lincolnway, and then there'd be instead of 4 lanes, there would be 5 lanes with a turn lane in the middle. So you'd still have that turn lane. We wouldn't be able to do the project without some dedicated left-hand turn lane into the site.
So I know it's speculative, but how many trucks a day are you thinking that would be coming in and coming out? I mean, based on that square footage and...
Yeah, there's a couple different metrics you can use to, and the first thing, we'll be doing a full traffic impact study that will nail this down a little bit better, but just at a high level, we're designing the building with 30 docks, and you can kind of think, hey, roughly 2 turns a day on those, so that would be 60 trucks a day, so that's roughly 3 an hour. And that's consistent with the Institute of Traffic Engineers recommendation based on square footage. It's like a quarter truck per 1,000 square feet per day.
Steve, what is on the property directly north of this? Refresh my memory, please.
The ComEd easement.
And then north of that?
North of that is, that should be Old Second Bank and, I think you use that.
The garage
Yeah.
door company there.
Yeah, correct, the overhead
Yes,
door.
the storage is there, the bank is there, that is the
Cleaners.
Yeah. And that is the garage door company,
Garage, okay.
They got the schoolhouse there too.
and then that's the school.
And so the type of commercial that would be fronting on 31 would be, did you say like fast food places, or what is typically there in a development that you've done before?
Yeah, like a fast food place or a small, like a Verizon Wireless or a commercial, smaller commercial
But it's
footprint.
retail.
Retail.
Retail,
Yes.
okay.
And just to reiterate, the north side of the buildings, where our offices will be facing, so that'll be facing the ComEd easement, and then the commercial on the north of the ComEd easement.
So that's car parking along the north. There's only docks on the south and only truck parking on the south.
If there's one message that I hear consistently from a lot of our residents, it is warehouses frowned upon quite a bit right now. And I think during some of our strategic planning meetings we've had recently, I think that was a topic that we all brought up, and again, we frowned upon that during our strategic plan meetings, so I wouldn't be in favor of any type of a warehouse, quite honestly.
Have you given any thought to purchasing the property to the south as well and trying to develop that whole square?
We've been in contact with the owner of that, and we haven't been able to come to an agreement with him.
I feel like if there was a way to direct truck traffic in a different way so that you could have the retail in the front and then the truck traffic in its own space running towards the back, I think that would potentially be a little bit more palatable, especially if we can see more retail, something else built up all along the frontage there.
You're saying combining it with the south property, retail on both of them, and segregating the retail and the trailer?
Yeah, and trying to just have truck traffic like run along that whole backside towards the pond and then into the dock area.
Sure. Yeah, and we would love to do that and get him on board, but there's I think some unrealistic expectations from him on timing, for example, of how long it takes to rezone a site and get approvals and entitlements.
Yeah, I know we've worked with them as well.
So.
I'm fine with it, I think that's the perfect spot for it. There's no residential influence. I think if that road diet comes in, it should be fine.
Mike?
I'm pretty much for it. I do have a concern about the truck traffic, though. But I kind of agree with Trustee Curtis here that it probably is going to be done attractively enough that the building itself would be acceptable, I'm sure, in my opinion anyway. But I do have a concern about the amount of trucks on that street. Is there another side street near there? That's Airport Road, I guess, is the closest south of that, right?
Yeah, so if I go back to the aerial here real quick. Airport Road is down to the south, and there are these buildings down here front on Airport Road, but they are owned by different folks. Let's see if I go to that area, zoomed out a little bit. You know, so getting access through there is tricky. There's not a spot for a drive aisle really, and it's owned by other people. So,
I kind of agree with Trustee Dajvej. We've talked over and over about warehouses, and my concern is, as you said, it's sort of at the gateway of the community. Residents generally are sort of tired of all the land being developed as warehouses. And I guess I would have a concern. I probably wouldn't be so much against it if it wasn't going to be so very obvious from the street, because you will see it behind the retail structure, right? You'll see it there. And I also have a concern about just that much more truck traffic there. So I would say I'm on the fence, but maybe not 100% in favor, just because I think that I would rather see it be something else. But of course, you know, we can't just pick and choose. When somebody wants a piece of property, you have to consider it. But I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I'm good.
You're good?
Just on the alternate property types, we've analyzed the site with respect to the market pretty closely here, and in our professional opinion, this is the highest and best use, and frankly, the only use. If we were able to drive retail larger and bigger, that we could actually sell the land or lease it for more money. Retail, rents are higher than industrial rents, but we just don't believe that there's a market for that, and we are involved with retail projects currently right now in Chicago, so we have a perspective of it from our other developments. We've also evaluated and we've also developed in the I-80 corridor for office, And particularly in my past life, I developed offices in Oak Brook, in Downers Grove, in Lyle, and we see a progression of office buildings that pretty much stopped in Lyle, maybe Naperville, I should say, and that market is just flat on its face with work from home. So I think from a commercial standpoint, this is the highest and best use, and it will be kind of making it palatable to the village, or ways that we're a good neighbor, I think would be the best way to say that.
Okay, thank you.
And to that point, I think you could obscure some of the building with foliage and greenery. So I don't have a problem with that aspect. All I have is the truck aspect of it. And again, I'm pretty much for the idea if we could somehow resolve or be assured that the trucks wouldn't. Do you say how many? 30 an hour?
No,
did you say?
No, 60 a day, 24 hours, 3 an hour.
Oh, 3 an hour.
Yes.
Well, it's not a deal breaker for me, but I'd like to see something else with that, if that's possible. Maybe just a right turn only? Could that be feasible?
88 south of there.
The exit from 88 will be coming.
Yeah, right.
What was the question?
Yeah, I think you got it. With 88 being south of the site, you've got to have a way to get into the site from the south, so you'll have to take a left into the site.
You have to have a turn lane.
And a turn, yeah, you've got to have a turn lane.
So you have to get approval from IDOT for that? These,
Yeah.
have you got that, or you have any feedback from them at all?
No, not yet, because we're taking the lead of the road diet plan that the village put in front of IDOT. We're happy to do whatever we can and work to push that forward, but we also don't want to slow that process down for you guys.
Well, I'm just saying with the curb cut, did I get approval for a curb cut?
They will need a permit for IDOT for all of that work. We still are ongoing with the road diet. It's a long and slow process, so we don't have an answer from IDOT. So I don't have direction to give them yet.
I'm just saying if the IDOT wouldn't approve that curb cut there, I mean.
So if we weren't doing the road diet at all, IDOT would not, for a development of this size, would generally not just give you a curb cut. They'd make you put in a left turn lane, a right turn lane. They're going to make you do some improvements.
Yeah, that's my only issue is trucks. I mean, that Route 31 is just a mess. Well, staff, any recommendations on that as far as truck concerns or traffic concerns there?
Staff talked about traffic, and that was the number one concern staff had was truck traffic. The only issue is the only access to that site is off of 31, which is why it was brought to the board for a concept review. Overland Drive would have been the back access to that off of Airport, but with the development of the Opus property to the west, that sealed the ability for that connection to be made. We talked about having the warehouses behind the police department to the immediate west, see if they can get a lane through. It's hard without keep the aerial up. So there is a lane, but that's on private property, and there's several businesses there, so I don't think the property owner wanted to have people going through via easement through his parking lot / access drive. But that came up, and once again, this is the first concept we've had in years for this property. Because it is zoned E3, essentially anything that comes to it is going to have to be rezoned. So we wanted to bring it to the board so that you give us feedback. It's the first time we've heard of anything there. We wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
I think I would find it much more palatable if there was some sort of, I think Trustee Lowry mentioned it, if there was some sort of landscaping or foliage between the retail area in the front and the, I mean, obviously you have trucks coming in at some point, but you see on the side of the building, just to kind of make it more aesthetically pleasing as you're driving by.
Definitely. Yeah, and we'll, we wanted to get your feedback, exactly those types of comments, and then come back with a few renderings and show, hey, this is what the foliage looks like, and this is what the glass on the building, and this is how far it's set back from the road. So I think that'll help put everything into perspective too.
And it would be 2 stories, or how tall would it be?
It would be 40 feet tall. The panels would be 40 feet tall
So
inside
that's
the building.
approximately four stories?
Yeah.
3 to 4 stories?
Yeah.
That's big.
And that's already up on a hill.
Hmm?
And that's already up on a hill. So it's going to look like a skyscraper up there.
We'll put together some renderings showing what that looks like from the southeast corner of the site. Yeah, our
What
goal
type
would
of
not-
what type of business would you think would go there? Office, retail, or?
In the building, at the industrial building
Yes.
in the west? Yeah, a variety of buildings, mostly like warehousing, distribution type. If you break it up, it would be more like local, call it a HVAC, electrician, parts distributor type
Okay.
business, those types of things.
Anybody else? So, Steve, what do you need from us then?
So the feedback from tonight, because this is a concept plan, if the board is willing to look at this development any further, that's when they would start doing more of their actual preliminary engineering. So I think that's what they're looking for, is to see how the board feels about the project overall to determine whether to move forward or not.
I'd say go for it. So,
I'm still a no.
Okay, we have 1 no.
Yeah, I'm kind of a no if we can't get that other property mixed in with this and try to just tidy it all up.
Carolyn, you're,
Yeah, I'm on the fence, to be very honest with you.
right now, there's 3 no's and 3 yeses. Got Mike, Laura, and Mark with yeses, and
I'm a yes, what else are we going to put there?
Yeah.
We've got all the industrial.
I
behind it
appreciate that
already.
fact, I do.
so you're,
You want me
You're
to?
just
you want me-
present?
You want me to change it?
I think,
Wow, the pressure, it's so.
I mean,
so
it's
high
obviously
right
not a
now.
vote, so
I mean-
What?
it's obviously not a vote, so it's just your feedback.
no, I know.
No, I
but
know,
I'm just
but I mean,
trying
I
to
think
get
that-
majority of, I mean,
Yeah.
No, but I think they
If the
deserve an
majority
answer
doesn't want
because
it,
they're
then-
here, and I understand
Sure.
that there's an investment and there's work to be done, and it's not, you just can't, decide on a whim and leave them hanging. I
Right,
appreciate
no.
that. I mean, my biggest problem is 40-foot tall building, it's going to be big. I appreciate that nobody's wanted it. This is probably the best use for it. People in the village don't like warehouses. I don't think that they, are going to appreciate the fact that no one else wanted to be there for 20 years, and now we're going to put a warehouse. But,
I mean, what else could go there, I guess, is.
yeah.
yeah.
A park district.
That was the land that we
Something more-
talked about,
something
right?
more- yeah, something
a
more for
possible
the
park
community.
At one time, did we not? Was that not the
Yeah.
parcel that we talked about as a park at one point?
No, it was the
It was
parcel.
not, okay.
The
Okay, it
next
was a different
one to the south.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and say yes at this point, and to see further. And I think that's just the fair thing to do.
Well, look, we really appreciate the feedback, and we're happy to go and put together some additional renderings, not additional renderings, and bring them back to the board and solicit some more feedback. So
All right, thanks.
appreciate
Thank
it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, moving on to item 3, budget. Steve?
Thank you. Item number 3 is part of our draft budget process. The village board has already reviewed the budget overview, the draft budget, and then we have a portion of April where we put aside for any updates. The board didn't have any additional questions for the last meeting, but Jason, in going through the budget, is cleaning it up for the May 4th approval process. So this is not necessarily the last change you'll see, but we're about 99% there at this point. Jason?
Okay. So the first we want to start is on the revenue side, starting with the Route 31 TIF. And the next item, the United TIF, kind of go hand in hand. We have the final 2025 Kane County EAV numbers. So related to the TIFs, this increased the property tax money we're expected to come into the TIF significantly, mainly because of some newer warehouses came online and were fully assessed in this tax year. So in the Route 31, we originally put in $807,500 for the tax revenue, but that's increasing to $1,642,000. In United TIF, we are increasing it from $1,630,000 to $2,377,000. On the next item, the United TIF, this is the transfer that goes from the Route 31 TIF to the United TIF, since this is the last year of the Route 31 TIF and it's over with. We're basically, because of that additional tax revenue on that first line item, we're increasing the transfer from $861,205 to $1,695,705, and that would fully close out the Route 31 TIF. Moving down to the water fund, we originally had the Aurora Pack second
I have
water.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you go back to that slide? When you say increase property tax revenue for the TIFs, is that an increase just on the property specific to that TIF?
Just the TIF, yes.
Because it seems like that's a significant increase. We're almost doubling the revenue.
Yeah, because like I said, we didn't anticipate those warehouses. I think the ones back off of Sullivan on the Route 31 TIF, and I don't remember if it was Building C or Building A on the old Valley Green, the Opus I-88. Those that really didn't have an EAV until this year attached to them, and they've significantly increased, so all that money is coming back into the TIF.
My concern with that is that seems like a big increase. Have you given consideration to the impact that might have on the businesses? Can they absorb
Well,
it?
that's not a number that we have any control over setting that levy. That's just strictly based on whatever the tax rate is and versus the increment of the additional EAV. So that we have no control over what those money coming into the TIF is. So I would assume that the business owners there are anticipating that tax bill.
It's essentially like someone moving into a vacant piece of land that had a tax bill of $10,000. They built a massive warehouse, and then when they got their first tax bill for $800,000, it became increment in the TIF. But they anticipated when they developed that they would have a property tax bill of that size.
On the water fund, we originally had the second Aurora Pack water impact fee of $1.5 million. We had received the first one, I believe, this year or last year. I can't remember off the top of my head. But because they're kind of delayed in opening, we're going to get that second one. We thought we'd get it next year. We probably won't get it until fiscal year 27-28. So we're moving it from basically this upcoming budget and then just bumping it back a year. So we're still going to get money. It's just kind of delayed another year. And then finally, on the water sales, we originally had a placeholder of what some projection of rates in there, but since our last meeting where we talked about increasing the base fee and then the water rates, we're increasing the revenue numbers based on what the actual rates we're thinking we're going to propose are. So that'll increase it to $4,991,000. Next slide. And then on the expenditure side, the first three items in the general fund kind of go hand in hand. I'm just going to start with the third item. The sales tax rebates were decreasing from $463,000 to $368,000. When I went back and started looking at them, one of our rebates we have with Ford was originally, I think, a 10-year, $900,000 rebate. We're in year, I think, 4 or 5 of that, and I anticipate, just based on how the sales tax revenue is, that rebate kind of goes away halfway through next year. I originally budgeted a full year from it, but looking at the projections, I think I'm able to reduce that because the sales tax rebate goes away next year. With those savings, though, we had originally, as part of the budget, considered adding 2 additional part-time seasonal public works employees. So these would be employees that would work less than 1,000 hours. They would not have health insurance or IMRF retirement attached to them. They just kind of help out during the busy seasons. But with that savings, we were able to add back those 2 additional part-time seasonal employees. So that increases the general fund salary from $32,500 to $65,000, so it doubles it. So we go from 2 to 4 part-time seasonals, and then the related FICA insurance or FICA tax related to that as well. I had mentioned on the Route 31 TIF, the transfer increases that goes to the general fund, to the United TIF fund, increases $861,205 to $1,695,000. Related to the EAVs, the I-88 corporate park developer note, I originally had a budget in there of $744,000. This is where we rebate 75% of the tax that this warehouse pays into the TIF. We rebate them back 75% of it. I'm actually lowering that to $708,500 just based on the final EAV of that property, of that warehouse building. And then related to tonight, the water well in the water fund, the well number 4 VFD, we originally had a budget of $225,000. We're increasing to $300,000.
The Public Works part-time employees was something that last year, it was the first time we extended them into the fall. So they still worked a certain amount of hours, and so Brian and Todd were able to come up with a way to utilize them during the busiest time of our year, which is the summer, but also when we hit the leaf collection season, that is when we are at our absolute busiest between special events, leaf pickup, and then plowing operations starting. And then also decorating the park, which takes several people, several days. So with that, this would give us flexibility to basically hire someone, maybe not just in the summer, but maybe actually hire again in the fall for more part-time seasonal help.
So the part-time seasonals that we had mentioned increases our total FTE count by 0.75. Originally in the budget, we had a 0.3 increase. So it's now a 1.05 increase in full-time equivalents in the budget. And then finally, here's just a schedule showing what the changes are to each individual fund. In the general fund, we originally had an increase of $3,490. We're increasing it now to $63,500 increase in the general fund related to decreasing the sales tax rebates, but then increasing the seasonal part-time a little bit. Route 31 TIF still gets closed out. United TIF increases just due to additional money being ported over from the Route 31 TIF. And then the water fund, we are showing a significant $4.6 million decrease just due to the capital projects and removing that $1.5 million water impact fee that's going to get pushed into the following year. So these are all the changes we have now. These will be reflected in the final budget that comes back on May 4th to get approved. Is there any questions about these?
No.
Nope. No. All right, thank you, Jason. All right, moving on to item 4. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 4 is a few changes to the liquor code. Start with one going, we'll start with the gas stations. Thank you, Nathan. So under the Class G license, as you remember, when Gas and Wash was approved, one of the questions the board had was regulating video game machines at a truck stop establishment by state law. So state law allows truck stops that qualify to have the ability to have video gaming machines. And where we didn't have originally was the ability to regulate them through our liquor license. So what we decided to do was we could create a Class G2 truck stop. So basically what you would do is you would take the Class 1 gas station license, which is currently just beer and wine only. That stays. That's just your normal gas station. Then if a truck stop comes in, someone who qualifies under the state rules of a truck stop, they have the acreage, the amount of diesel sales, the fuel island, they have everything that qualifies for the state definition, but also requests a liquor license from us. It's that liquor license request that triggers our ability to tie it to our video gaming code, because our video gaming is regulated through the liquor licensing. And with that, what we did was create a G2 truck stop video gaming license. And if I remember from the board's discussion, the concern with Gas and Wash was if a restaurant can have 6 machines, why can they have 10? And state law says they can have 10. But now, any other place that qualifies going forward as a truck stop, if they come in and get a liquor license, they would then be limited by the same amount of square footage per machine as our restaurants, with a maximum not to exceed 6, which is what the current maximum is for restaurants.
If they didn't want liquor, though, would they be able to have 10 again?
Correct. And that's because the state law doesn't require truck stops to have a liquor license. So our only ability to enforce it is through our liquor code. So essentially, if a truck stop came in, didn't get a liquor license, they could still have video gaming up to 10 machines, correct?
And if we do push that through, there's nothing we can do about Gas and Wash at this point?
Correct, because they've already been approved and got their liquor license. So you can't go back once you've issued the license.
Yeah, they would be grandfathered.
So that was the first change that we were talking about. The second one, there was a conversation a few months ago. We decided to package it back in here and have this conversation tonight about park district licensing. The park district licensing part of our code is one of the most confusing written sections of our code. So no matter what happens here tonight, if the board chooses to change anything within that code, Mike is going to try to rebuild that code so it's at least in a more understandable format. There was a lot of sections that Mike and I went back and forth on, and we had to reread several times to make sure we understood that something wasn't contradicting something else. So with that, I just want to give you a current overview of what park districts have. So currently, alcohol can be served at 3 parks by our code, not the park district's code, our code. Our code allows liquor at Red Oak Nature Center, the Wilds at Red Oak, which is their 3-season rental room, and North Aurora Island Park. Fox Valley Park District does not actually allow liquor at Island Park. So one of the first changes that we wanted to do was we wanted to take the hours of operation. The latest anyone can rent the Wilds of Red Oak is 11 p.m. Our current code allows all of those places to have liquor till 10:30. Only for Wilds of Red Oak, we said we are amending it to 11 with the board's consent. So whatever functions they can legally have now with liquor at Wilds of Red Oak, we would just extend it from 10:30 to 11 so it matches what their rental policies are. We would also take out Island Park. If the park district doesn't allow it, and quite frankly, Island Park is the only one of the 3 places that is near residential, we said it's probably easier just to get rid of Island Park from our code altogether, and this way no one can have liquor in Island Park. And then you don't have to worry about houses, noise, screening, lighting, or any of that.
I do have a question on that.
Sure.
So at Red Oak Nature Center, in the new building, our code requires if there's just say there's a party, that party, whoever's running that party, has a vendor serve the alcohol. Now, Park District, they don't require that. You follow?
I do.
No, they don't. They don't require to have a vendor. They require to have the insurance, but not a vendor. Our code requires to have a vendor to serve. In other words, you have to hire a bartender.
Correct. It's my understanding that the park district requires it as well.
No. Okay. No, they do not. I just thought I might make that comment. That makes it restricts us a little bit on that property. If somebody wants to have a party, they're not going to be able to serve alcohol unless they have a vendor, as our code.
So next slide. So the current regulations by our code here. Next slide, please. So this is currently where under our code the park district, how they're allowed to have liquor. So they're currently allowed any Fox Valley Park District event, they can have liquor provided by themselves, so the park district can provide them, and they can have employees, agents, volunteers, anybody that's acting on their behalf with the proper training, BASSET training and whatnot, the park district can have it at their events. They can have BYOB at their events as long as it is approved by the liquor commissioner. So basically, if the park district is hosting the event, not a private party, if the park district is hosting an event, they can have BYOB, but they have to get permission from the liquor commission, the mayor. A third-party public event would be like if a group wanted to rent the park out and basically have a festival, but they're renting the park from the park district. They can currently have alcohol served there, but they have to follow our special use, special event, and caterers licensing processes, which basically means like if it's a charitable organization, they're renting out the Wilds of Red Oak or they're renting out Red Oak Nature Center, they have to follow the same process the Lions Club gets for North Aurora Days. They go through our special events liquor process. They have to have the proper insurances, have to still have their trainings and whatnot. Another third-party public event, for instance, would be a company. So let's say a local company wants to have an employee appreciation party. They rent out the park. They can do that now, but because they are not a charitable organization, they fall under a special use license, which means they have to have a bartender, a restaurant, a service, a brewery, anybody who has a state retailer's liquor license, a caterer, they would be the ones that would have to actually provide and serve the liquor at that event. Private functions currently right now at the Park District is by invitation only. So this is not a public event. This is I'm having a wedding or something or a birthday party at one of these facilities. They currently have to hire a caterer with a state liquor license or have a bartender with the proper certification.
Wait a minute, are you referring to the Park District? Or us?
So if someone wants to rent Red Oak Nature Center or the Wilds of Red Oak, they have to have a caterer or a bartender with a state certification or liquor license to
As
sell.
our code,
That, in our code.
Right,
In our code,
okay.
correct.
but not the Park District code. I already know. Just wanted to make that clear. They don't require what we do,
I think
and that's
it's-
fine.
I think it's a public safety issue to take away that control we have of it. Just to let BYOB, we have no control over minors drinking, we have no control over people being overserved. I think it's.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying that we have a stricter code to serve alcohol than the Park District. That's fine. I mean,
Right,
that's,
to say, go have a wedding and BYOB, and nobody's going to be there to supervise, you know, if a.
well, no, you have to still have, the Park District requires you to have insurance and make sure that you pay for insurance and make sure that's it's
Yeah,
covered.
all I'm saying is I just don't want this to be a Wild West, where
Right.
we don't
No,
know
I
who's
know.
using it, and now there's.
I get it. I'm just making the clarification, what the Park District requires and what we require are two different things.
I'm fine with the way it is right now. I just don't,
There's a
I mean,
change.
Route 25 is just a Wild West as it is.
Right, we don't want the Wild West there. I hear
Right.
you.
So with the proposed changes was the Park District is requesting, they would like to know about BYOB at just the Wilds of Red Oak, and because of safety concerns that the board brought up, we said if the board was willing to do it, we decided that it would make sense to limit it to just the patio area that's immediately adjacent to Red Oak at the Wilds. So they couldn't actually technically remove liquor from that spot, so it would just be at the building or the adjacent patio.
You know, the BYOB, is that each individual that attends the event, or is that the agency or entity that's actually renting the place? Can they bring their own bottles?
So this is for a private function. So this is someone who is renting out the space. They're not using the Park District staff. They're not using a service to sell it. They want to just bring their liquor there, and they want to just be able to have their family, you know, go through coolers, whatever, and just have it there. In that situation, they still have to have insurance. They still have to go through the Park District, and they still have to, in our case, we would limit them to the patio, but they would still have to follow all of those rules.
I still think
I'm
it's
fine
a
with
bad
that.
idea. I mean, I live over there, Route 25. Half the time, I feel like I'm taking my life in my own hands because everybody's
at?
doing, on Route 25, over by the Nature Center, people do like 75 miles an hour
Yeah.
down that road.
Oh, I
as it
mean,
is.
down 25.
On
They
Route
go 75
25.
miles an hour?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a death trap. I mean, and now you've got more traffic because of Lincoln Valley over there, and I just, yeah, great, you have insurance, but if you kill somebody, you still killed somebody. You know, if you still have people with DUIs, you still have people with DUIs. I don't think BYOB at a park district
But it
is
was
a great
already,
idea.
it was already BYOB before. Nothing's changing. If you look at, right? Am
The
I
only
not correct in
difference
the way
with
it
the
says currently?
BYOB, the only thing that's changing, if the board wanted to approve it, is that BYOB right now is allowed there, but it's allowed there under Park District events only. So this would be
Oh.
for private events.
I see.
They'd still have to get insurance, they'd still have to go to Mark. Mark, as a liquor commissioner, would still have to sign off on the BYOB request. And they'd still have to go through all of the processes, requirements of the Park District.
And the fact is that if it presents itself as a problem over time, we can always, right, we can always change the conditions of the license. Correct, Steve?
You can. You don't have to keep a license.
And our
in
liquor
perpetuity.
commissioner has to approve it.
Yeah.
So
it has
if there
to
becomes
go-
to be an issue, we just don't approve it anymore.
So it goes to, like, each one right now by the rental policy that the Park District has. They're supposed to submit a BOB request, I think it's 30 days in advance, and then I think our code requires it 2 weeks out. So basically, it goes through the park district approval process. If the park district's okay with it, it would go to the liquor commissioner, and then he would have to then say it's okay for that event to have BYOB.
A potential issue to think about is on what basis would the liquor commissioner approve or deny licenses? We would probably want to have some, at least, they don't have to be published criteria, but there should be criteria so that the decisions are made on the same basis. Because I could see issues arising where someone gets denied a license and they allege that it's because, of their skin color or, or something like that, and we would, that's something to think about if we're basically making the liquor commissioner the gatekeeper on whether someone goes there, can do it or not.
There should be some sort of written guidance to make the decision by. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
we should think about it, and there should be some parameters there before we start getting, having to make those decisions, and the next thing you know, something pops up where you want to deny it, but it's just like the last one that you just approved.
It can't be subjective.
There's an issue there. I'm just raising it.
Can we just ban BYOB for the park district and for us? I mean, I don't see how it's a good idea for anyone to have BYOB.
Yeah, that's up to you guys, and that's, I think, what.
Well, I think that you're going to greatly impact the usability and the rentability of the Wilds, because people are going to go there, they want to have a wedding, they're going to want to serve alcohol. So, I mean, you're going to greatly reduce its usability by the public if they can't have their alcohol.
They have to have they have to hire a caterer with a state liquor license or bartenders that are certified. It's not like they can't. They can, but now we know that somebody's not going to be overserved. Now that we know, 17-year-olds aren't drinking. I mean, I'd like to hear the chief's, view on this as well.
I mean, if you look at the Wilds, it's a kind of an upscale type of venue.
It's expensive to rent.
I'm not expecting some of the issues that I would expect. Like we had a party place on Route 31 where there was a bunch of gang activity. I'm not expecting that kind of an issue, but like Attorney General said, if it becomes an issue, we can address that with the park district and change our code.
It's really more of a park district issue than it is a Village of North Aurora issue, correct?
Except
If they're going to allow it.
From a liability standpoint, it is more of a park district issue.
So why give our liquor commissioner more work? Just let them follow their own code.
Yeah, their code doesn't require a caterer.
Right.
That's the change.
Right.
Right.
I think
That's what I'm saying. Just let them
some
Yeah, they can do it that way.
clarification.
be responsible.
Exactly.
Some clarification on that. So their code, I have their liquor policy right here. So they do require a caterer or a licensed person to sell liquor at a wedding. So
Yes.
the difference is you can rent out a space for multiple reasons, right? And they have a separate policy for weddings. So what Trustee Gately was saying earlier, I think, was when you were talking about, let's say if someone rents out for a birthday party,
Yeah.
that's not addressed in their liquor policy of not requiring the state licensed person. But their current policy says, if it says right here, anyone using has to have a where is it at here? Sorry, here it is.
You have to have the certificate.
It says, so for a wedding at the Wilds at Red Oak, you have to have bartender service vendor must provide dram shop insurance liability and reservation. So it's a bartender service vendor, and it says all alcohol is required to be served by a professional Bassett certified and insured bartending service vendor, regardless of guest count. But that is only, and this is the weird designation, because Mike and I were trying to figure this out, that's only for weddings. So someone, I guess, during their application process has to signify this is for a wedding. Anything else?
So if you want to have a baby shower or something, you can just bring your own beer and wine and.
Correct. That's what I think they're looking for is, and where I was coming from the standpoint is when the park district reached out to us, you have the power to say yes, no, or grant it with additional restrictions. So if you, for instance, wanted tonight to mention that a wedding, for instance, you absolutely said no BYOB for wedding, you could. And that would actually follow and mirror their policy. If you wanted to say, sure, we only allow it till 5 p.m., for like afternoon birthday parties or whatever, you could do that as well. Just want to make sure you know that you have that ability to do that.
I find that their code is fine. That's where I'm at. The way they have it written and drafted, I'm fine with it. That's where I'm at with the whole thing. So your proposed changes, the only thing is, yeah, I guess the proposed changes would change it to bringing Mark into it, or the mayor into the approval process.
But and that's the thing, he actually is in our code right now, he is in the approval process for BYOB already. They just don't have a lot of BYOB issues because of our code. The only BYOB that they would technically have right now is they may do something, let's say at Red Oak Nature Center, like a campfire discussion where they let people bring stuff in. In that case, they technically are supposed to go to Mark because it's BYOB.
The difference is right now it would have to be a Park District
Correct.
event.
Exactly. That's the primary difference for this is a private event versus a public sanctioned event is what it comes down to. BYOB was granted by the board just like we have BYOB for village events.
Right.
Because we have control over it. But once again, we trust the Park District to have control because they're staffing that event. So it really comes down to one issue, whether or not you're comfortable with BYOB in any situation at the Wilds.
I am. Yeah, I am.
I am too.
I don't think we should have BYOB anywhere at any time by anyone.
But I'm sorry, the three of you are fine with BYOB? I didn't quite understand what you were
I'm a yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever the Park District's current code is.
Yep.
I think we should defer to it.
Okay. I feel like we're going in circles, but I'm going to ask this one more time. The Park District requires it to be a professional bartender with dram shop insurance.
For weddings,
Weddings
For
only.
weddings, but not for other things.
not for other things.
And that's how, that would be also would mirror our policy, or we don't have the exception for weddings.
So basically what I was about to do is depending on if you wanted to move forward or not, if you wanted to move forward and say BYOB is okay as long as we follow Park District policies, the follow-up question would be, would you want to limit it and not have it allowed at weddings? That was going to be my second because that's what their policy is.
Yes, for a wedding, there should be a professional server.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If a company, or let's say a church, a club that's affiliated with a church somewhere, a club wants to have an event there, can they bring, is BYOB include them bringing their liquor, their beer and wine, to dispense to the people they invite? Is that
Not if it's a public event, but if it's by invitation only. So for instance, let's say that club wanted to just invite its members and it
Yes,
wasn't open
that
to anybody
would
else.
be
It was
my-
just a general meeting of that club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Under the new provision, they would be allowed to have BYOB.
Okay.
As long as they have the proper dram shop insurance.
Correct.
They wouldn't have to have a professional
Right.
bartender
No, you know the
dispensing
insurance
it.
part, yeah.
That's really the difference, right? Whether there's a professional bartender dispensing the alcohol or not.
Yeah, and the last thing, because honestly, the staff's concern was, the first question we would get if it was us is people would ask, well, how the heck do I get insurance if I'm just, having a birthday party? And the Park District actually has a website set up that they direct people to. I believe their insurance that they offer is possibly through Paderma, which is their insurance carrier. So they basically offer like a service that you go through them, through this website, and then you can purchase. The next slide, Nathan. So the other thing, and I one after this, sorry. The only other thing with this was we were proposing to get rid of the 500-foot buffer requirement for lighting and for noise and whatnot. That was in there because basically Island Park was closer to residences, but this obviously is buffered by the woods.
Okay.
And so I want to make sure I have the right feedback. What I'm hearing from everybody tonight is that it's okay with BYOB in general, but we still want to make sure that the weddings follow their rules, which are they still have a professional service for weddings.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And then the last section here is just, this is simple. It's just changing banquet hall name to private event space because that's how we changed it in the zoning. So now we're just matching the liquor license. And then Mike put one slide in at the end that basically said this section is brutal. And no matter what, he would like to change some of the code so it's easier to read. But mostly, it's even hard to find out what time our liquor licenses go to depending on what type of business you run. So you have to go to one section to see what our code is and then try to see if it applies to each use. So he wants to just create a chart. You know, gas stations can serve till this time on these days and so on and so on. So that was it.
Cool.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, move on to number 5.
Okay, last item on tonight's cow agenda is regarding solar farms and wind farms. Basically, in a nutshell, there are a couple state laws that have gone into effect and will be going into effect. And so we've been monitoring those. You may have heard that a couple years ago, counties were having requests from villages whenever a solar farm would come in. The town would go to the county, say whether or not they liked the idea or opposed it. Then the county would take that into consideration for their special use process. And then what was happening was some of the counties started denying them. State law now basically sets parameters for solar farms and essentially tells counties if they're within these parameters, there's really no reason to deny them. So at that point, that law changed. Shortly after that, there's a new law that goes into effect for municipalities within incorporated boundaries. That starts June 1st. That one essentially says that you cannot say no to basically non-regulating a solar farm, meaning you can't zone it out of your community. You have to have zoning available for solar farms should they come to your community. You can't just effectively say we don't want any. So we were looking into the county issue as that's become more prevalent. We're getting a lot of the towns around us are talking about it. But with that, we also said it makes sense for us to right now zone them because right now they're not zoned in our community. It makes sense to take the solar farm zoning and put them in areas where we know that they can actually exist. Let the board discuss it tonight and see if you agree with these are potential places for solar farms. And then we can talk a little bit more about the county stuff at the end. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, so as Steve mentioned, you know, the counties, the laws for counties started in 2023. That's when state law changed and basically required counties to approve these based on a certain set of criteria. And then starting this year, June of this year, some of that gets applied to municipalities. So as we looked at our zoning code, we didn't have definitions of solar farms, wind farms, battery storage. We didn't have places where they were permitted or special use. So that's basically saying that your zoning prohibits them. And starting June 1st, that will no longer be allowed. So we have to allow them somewhere. So step one, come up with some definitions. And I pulled these right out of the state law so I can make sure that you know, our code is matching what the state is saying. So energy storage system, that is basically big battery packs. So think of a cargo container, but it's a battery, and you have, you know, 40 of them in a row. Those are becoming more prevalent now because of green energy. Solar panels obviously only produce during the day. Wind turbines only produce when it's windy. So for those, as those energy sources expand, you need battery storage to smooth out the highs and lows of that. So the state law has kind of lumped those all together now, so they're all considered to be you know, uses that you have to allow. So this would have first definitions for energy storage, solar energy commercial. We already had, you know, we already allowed it on your house. You know, you can put solar panels on your roof, but this is a commercial solar energy, so designed to produce power for the grid, not for the property it's sitting on. Same thing with wind energy. Those are the definitions right out of state law. Adding them to the I districts. So I put wind energy as special in all the I districts. I don't really think we're going to get wind turbines because those are generally 120 to 150 feet tall, and you have to have a setback that's longer than they are. So usually you see those in very open farm field areas. But again, the state law says you can't prohibit them, so I put them as a special use in the I's. Energy storage and solar energy, you are seeing those all around our borders, and you are seeing requests for those in municipalities. You don't need, you can stick a solar field on 10 acres. You know, you don't need a massive amount of land. So I listed them as special uses in I-1 and I-2. I put them as permitted in I-3. I-3 is just Aurora Pack. I wanted them permitted somewhere. Then I also listed them as a special in ORI. ORI is where you have warehouse districts. So that would list them in our code. And then the last part about that is giving a little bit of a use standard. So 50-foot buffer yards, that matches the state law. It also matches our code. We generally have a 50-foot buffer yard between, say, industrial and residential. So those things would, make them allowed somewhere in town. Just like with the counties, after 2023, counties had to sort all that out. There were lots of lawsuits. Some people sued because theirs got denied. Some people sued because they wanted it denied. And it all is kind of sorting itself out. I'm assuming after, June of this year, when these start going into municipalities, there will probably be lawsuits. There will probably be changes we'll have to make. But this at least gets it on the books, so we're in compliance. And then the last thing, as I said, these are going into county areas around our borders, and we actually were just notified of one. So this is the Cottage Farm next to Lake Run, south of Tanner. And we just got notified from the county. It's an unincorporated piece of property. So this is Lake Run on the west. This is Tanner Trails on the north. We just got notified by the county that they're filing a special use application for this solar farm project. So it is happening. It is coming around our borders. You will be seeing more of it.
So when a solar farm comes into an unincorporated area, the county still notifies the village. Typically, I think it's within a 1.5 mile radius of the nearest jurisdiction. They do it as part of basically a special use requirement, and they invite the community for a technical committee review. So Nathan actually got an invitation. Mike Clemensick informed us they were informed at the fire district that they also will get an invitation to that technical committee meeting. So Nathan will look at things like access, like they may want a secondary access through Lake Run, and we may say we don't want truck access through a neighborhood. Hey, that doesn't make sense to us, and so we'll provide staff feedback from that. But what we don't have is, village board feedback. And the truth is, as Nathan had brought up years ago, maybe 3 years ago, towns were going to the county and stating their cases when things would, hey, this is in our future comprehensive plan area. This is expected to be single-family homes one day. Now it's solar farms. Do we have a say in that? And the answer is the county is still now under that state law where they basically have to try to make sure if it falls within those guidelines, it goes through the approval process. But we can still send a comment to the county, or the board can still provide feedback on how you feel about a project like this. So Nathan and I wanted to bring it up. Traditionally, if the board wanted to make a formal statement, you could do it via resolution, or you can simply have the mayor write a letter, or staff can provide that feedback as well.
Is this a private property or is it county
property? It is.
Yes.
Private, oh.
It is.
I have a question about this proposed development. Mm-hmm. So we have no say as to, what we have in our comp plan and things like that. I mean, I'm a little concerned that they don't have like square footage size, like, a small town like us should be exempt versus, you go out to like Hinckley or Plano or someplace where they've got a lot of developable land available. Because for me to see something like this, which is one of the biggest undeveloped parcels we have, that would be a great residential spot, and we do have a housing shortage. So how do we prevent this from, being basically useless when we should be able to control what we are allowing within our borders?
I think the answer to that is that we don't have two things. One, we don't have direct control because it's in the county. Two, that past practice of counties, municipalities going to the county and soliciting feedback and telling them how they felt about their comp plan, once the law changed, it kind of set the setbacks and the parameters for these developments and essentially said that as long as they meet those setbacks and requirements, the counties are essentially approving them now. But to your point, what towns were doing even further west of here where it was typical farmland, they were doing the opposite. So here, we have development right there, so that would be our discussion, right? Hey, we have development here, it's in our comp plan area. What we're seeing in the farm communities out west of here, the farmland out there, they're more taking an approach of this is in our future comp area as a commercial corridor. It just hasn't built yet because our growth is happening now. We're getting subdivisions coming in now. 5 to 10 years from now, we'll have thousands more people. And so
just one question though, how are these things structured? Is it like a ground lease? Where they're renting it from the owner and paying a rent for the usability of it?
Generally, yes. So the property owner would still own the land, and they would lease, in this case, about 20 acres out to this company who would, build all the panels, hook it to the grid, and, pay them lease payments.
I like what you did with the zoning districts, allowing it only in the I-1, 2, or 3, or whatever. I mean, I'd be fine with that because it makes it very undesirable because we don't have a lot of large industrial tracts.
Right.
I mean, if we have to do something,
Yes.
that would be the lesser of the two evils.
given the process, you can go on their website. The county actually has a listing of all those who have petitioned currently. So we have the technical committees in May, correct?
First week of May.
So, at the board, we can come back on May 4th, or the board can give us direction tonight. If you want to make a general comment anytime that we get one of these that is submitted within our future comprehensive plan area, I would suggest that if the board wanted to do that, that it be a cohesive message, that it's the same message each time. As long as it's within our comp plan area for future growth, this is how the village feels about this situation. It doesn't mean that they're going to change anything, but at least you can go on the record and explain your view.
I don't know how and this might go to Kevin, if this private property owner wants to rent out his land and use his land for a particular use, do we have any say about that?
It's the same exact process minus the state law. A special use at the county is the same as a special use at the village. The adjacent landowners, property owners who are notified still have a voice at a public hearing or the ability to voice their concerns with the development. And the county board still has to authorize that development to move forward because it's a special use.
Oh, okay.
Is this not essentially a business, though?
Yeah.
I think it's zoned agricultural.
I think it's zoned ag, yeah.
I think under the zoning, it's actually agricultural.
Yeah, but it's not agricultural. That's bullshit. It's a business.
We have
So we should be able to say you're
we
not
ha-
allowed to put a business in a neighborhood.
We have the ability to object to anything within a mile and a half of our jurisdiction if it's in our comp plan area, which this is obviously. But that's literally all we have is the ability to object. It's under county
That's
zoning.
insane.
If county agricultural zoning allows solar farms, we have no say other than our ability to object.
So let's take it a step further. Somebody wants to put in a solar farm on Slaker's property, right?
That is in the village already, so that is our zoning
Right.
approval.
So the difference with that one would be that tonight he came in, he was under E3 residential zoning. We don't have it zoned at all. So the board would have to make the decision if that's an appropriate place because you still have that local authority. Tonight what we're doing is,
But the state is saying we have to create some areas.
starting June 1, you can't not allow them. You have to allow them somewhere in your community or at least regulate them in a way that you're not saying it's impossible for you to be here. So tonight, what we're trying to do is to give the board options of places we think they can go and see how you feel about that so that we have some protections. And we didn't make most of these special uses. So in theory, let's say, do you want to go back to the zoning chart?
Yeah, so special use in ORI and special use in I-1 or I-2.
Do we get tax revenue off of it?
I honestly
Probably
don't
not.
know the answer
County.
to that.
Do we get what, a tax?
No,
write-off?
within, I think you're asking if it's
If
within.
it was built in the
or-
village, it does
unincorporated
get
land. We get
assessed.
Like
you know.
for municipal
It's not
electric.
part of the village.
That I don't know, but property tax.
Okay.
I just think it's a terrible spot.
Yeah, the property taxes should then go up through the roof as well.
I
As the
think too,
value
because we
of-
had that development, the burger farm, that's in the county too. That could go all solar.
And Tanner.
Yeah, right.
All of it.
I mean, these are adjacent to the lake run houses and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You've always got the political, the ability to approach your representatives on the county board and to appeal to the county board members.
Except they don't have much say-so, right, as of June 1st?
So, well, no, before June 1st. Currently, right now, June 1st only applies to the village. The county is already under a new state law.
Oh, okay.
That says, do you have by any chance the parameters?
So it was 2023 that the counties were required to do it. And again, it set setbacks like the 50-foot setback, but basically said if you meet these parameters, you have to approve it. So it doesn't give the counties much wiggle room. Some counties denied projects anyway. They all got sued. So if you follow it in the newspaper, Will County just went back because they denied 5 or 6 of them who all sued. They just went back last week and approved all 6. You know, they were told by a judge to approve it and they approved it. So the county does not have a lot of wiggle room in terms of, you know, the standard things you would think in a special use process. A bunch of people come to a public hearing, have opposition, you know, your county board members, they don't have that freedom anymore. If it meets the standards, it has to be approved.
This is really the best that we can do, given that we have a June 1st deadline for things that are already within the municipality.
Yeah.
We're going to create zoning areas. A lot of them have to require coming before the board before they can be approved. That's the best that we can do for what's in the municipality, is it not? That's the way I
Correct.
take it.
Yeah.
What's in the unincorporated areas, I think what you're saying is we can
You have a
politically
voice.
on what they're doing, but in the end, they can't deny it.
Right, you have a voice, so you can go on the record and tell the county how you feel about it, but it doesn't mean it's going to
No.
change anything. But going to ours real quick, so going back. So let's say the state law has the parameters, 50-foot setbacks, all that for incorporated properties as well. Because it's a special use, as long as we don't zone it in a way that it shows that we're being, you know, exclusionary in any way, you can still have special use requirements on it. So if the setbacks say, you know, you can put it in this box, it doesn't mean that if it's adjacent to another development that you said, hey, you know what, we would like to see some screening potentially on this as a condition of the special use. So you have some ability to have some local control. But that's why we want it on the book, so that we have that ability. Do you want to show real quick,
Yes.
just a quick zoning map? Do you have it up by any chance? Just, I want to make sure everyone's comfortable with where these areas are.
Is there a certain amount of space we have to allow?
No. So
Go
they,
back here.
So we could pick one spot, potentially.
correct. And that's why Nathan and I, when we set this up, so the way we started this was we put them in the I districts, which is probably the best place for solar farms, because that's where you have the I district, so that'd be your blues.
That's Airport Road, Poplar Drive, and the quarry.
So then the only concern was that, do you have any available spaces in the I district? So someone say, well, you only have one piece of land here, you're purposely doing that, so you're excluding them by doing only one spot. So what we did for tonight's conversation was we expanded it to the ORI district as well, to ask the board. Now, Nathan, off the top of your head, we know in the ORI, we have 2 spots off of Mitchell, and right north of 88 and next to the warehouse by Chesterfield, there's 2 pads. Those have already built, one's already pad ready for a warehouse, and then the other one was approved for a warehouse. So as of right now, those are kind of already pre-expected to be warehouses. And then any other ORIs off the top of your head that have space for?
Not that are vacant land.
And so the owner, it's that light pink. So you're talking about just the area like Slaker Farm, that area, that's, his is green, his is that green one right there. But all those areas behind it are already built out with warehouses, essentially. You might end up getting like, here's an example, Pentair has that location, the business that's at the end of Airport and Alder. I mean, they have a lot of open green space on their property. So in theory, they would be able to maybe put a few acres of solar farms up if you would like to do that.
That's a good spot over there.
Yeah.
And that's why we included the ORI area, just in case that was okay with you. But the other thing to note real quick is that the ORI and look at where it's adjacent to residential. The current zoning that's residential above it is that yellow. So you have two existing warehouses right there on those two big tracks right there. And then to the west, you also have the, that's kind of by where our treatment plant is, and back there by Ice Cream and Alder, that's all warehouses and industrial. Pretty much built out for the most part. There's not much land there. So you don't really have a lot of residential issues there. And then you go down to the east side, that dark blue, that's your quarry, that's Aurora Pack, that's Geneva Construction, some of your heavy industrial areas over there as well.
Put them over there.
Good plan.
So for now, is that what we would do is we'd bring this back on May 4th, get them on the books so that we have something locked in, and then if we ever want to change it, we can potentially in the future.
Right.
Okay,
Yes,
sounds good.
100%.
Anybody, anything else?
No.
Well, I'd be in favor of the mayor sending the letter or us passing a
Whoever.
resolution or whatever it is we can to
Absolutely.
at least voice our opinion
Yeah.
to the county, for sure.
If you want a resolution.
I mean, something, 'cause-
The technical meeting's after
What do you
the
mean
next
about that?
meeting, right?
Yeah.
So I think the technical meeting's a few days after your next board meeting. So what we can do is we can draft a resolution, and Nathan and I and Mike, we can put together all the things that everything you're saying is things that we would have concerns about, access, comp plan, future development area, all of that.
Burgers here.
So we would go ahead and put that together, and the board can approve it or amend it at the dais if you want that night.
All right, thanks. Okay, now I need a motion to adjourn to go to exec session for a sale of property.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? All right. Good night, everyone.